Hi, hello. So in this video I want to talk about all the Inazuma characters that have been released, or basically all the characters that have been released since 2.0, because I'm pretty sure Sumeru is going to be the next big update, seeing how there's lots of marketing materials being released for this new region. So I thought, why not just make a video about all the Inazuma characters that have been released and give my thoughts, maybe even feelings, how I feel about them. But yeah, this isn't really a scripted video. I'm just gonna give my own honest opinion what I think about these characters, since I built, reviewed, and used them in many team comps, including meta team comps. So yeah, let's just start with the first character. Now, 2.0 update started with Ayaka, and a lot of people in the community have been waiting for her since the game's initial release. And when I first started playing with her, I didn't actually enjoy using her. The whole mechanic of utilizing the dash was kind of annoying to me. And using her charge attacks, I know they look beautiful, but to me it wasn't just my type of playstyle. But later on I realized that if you use her dash right next to the enemy, you will just keep regaining the stamina and you can abuse the dash mechanic. Now, the biggest thing about her is that she has so much front-loaded damage built into her burst, and she has such a good free-to-play potential. All you need to do is just give her a Blizzard Rare set and Amenoma Kageuchi and you're good to go. Like seriously, she deals so much damage, it's just not even funny. And with more future characters released afterwards like Kokomi or Shenhe, she really grew on me, and now I almost exclusively use her for freeze teams. Which, by the way, for the most part, she is only best used in freeze teams, because I didn't really find much luck using her in reverse melt teams. But overall, she's one of the best damage dealers in the game, and what a great way to start the update, right? Now, I know I said I will be giving my thoughts about 2.0 or Inazuma characters, which brings me to this tricky situation with Kazuha. He kind of came first in 1.6, right before 2.0, and he is from Inazuma technically. So I'm gonna be making a small exception here and just talk about him quickly here as well. Now, this Maple Samurai boy is just super amazing. Really good personal damage, really good crowd control, absolutely insane elemental damage boosting. Like, what more could you want from him? Like right now, I have Kazuha at C2 and with a Freedom Sword, but the funny part is, I've been using him at C0 with a Favonius Sword for the whole year before the rerun. Since he's just so flexible, you can put him in so many different teams. And more importantly, when you're out of the Abyss, he's actually fun to use in world exploration. But yeah, enough said, he's just a game changer for anyone who acquires him. Now, the next one on the list is Yoimiya, and I kind of feel bad for her. She got so unlucky, she got squeezed between Ayaka's and Raiden's banners back when she first got released, and also she didn't have the best first impressions. But I think as time went on, especially now that her rerun is happening, I think she's actually a really solid character. And even though she has a really simple playstyle, which is just spamming normal attacks, a couple of characters like Yunjin and Yelan got released, and she just gained more synergy with them, or I would say like more options. Now, I know this isn't really a popular opinion, but even till this day, I keep using on her Shimenawa set because I've been farming the Emblem Domain set for so long, and I've been getting some pretty good pieces there, because I don't really have a good Crimson Witch set, which I know that a lot of people said that this is the best set for her, but for me personally, I still get to play her with Shimenawa set and I really enjoy using her, and I honestly think she's kind of future-proofed. As long as there's new characters coming out who have like some kind of a synergy with normal attacks, I think she's gonna be in a good spot. Now, the next character is Sayu. Like, I'll be honest here, she's really not that great for Abyss, even though she can even apply VV Shred with her burst when she's off-field, but the burst will only target a single enemy, and if you're fighting multiple enemies, then you better hope that they stand next to each other so that the swirl can happen. Like, honestly, I think she's a decent character, but I'm pretty sure Hoyoverse designed her with the intention to use her exclusively in the world exploration, because that's what I've been doing with her this whole time. It's easier to catch crystal flies or crabs or what other little critters you need, but the rolling somehow works better than the underground dash with Ayaka or Mona. And surprisingly enough, I have been using her more than anybody else in my teams when I'm doing world exploration. And I honestly just think that Hoyoverse should release more characters which are better for world exploration. Like, damage is nice, but sometimes having some kind of a fun utility or like a transportation mode can actually be a good reason enough to pull for a character. Like, think about it, if you're a veteran, when was the last time you felt challenged by the Abyss? Like, it's the same thing if you acquire a new character, you usually get them because they're fun to look at or fun to use. So I think in the future, if we get more type of Sayus that are just not really meta, but instead really good for world exploration, I think it wouldn't hurt the game. Now, I know this next character is not from Inazuma, or not even from Genshin for this matter, but Aloy did get released during 2.0 update, and she only exists because Hoyoverse wanted to put Genshin on PlayStation, and Sony, the company, wanted something out of them, which is why we have Aloy here, with no constellations, and I haven't seen a lot of people using her, to be honest. And the thing is, if we ignore her coil mechanic, which isn't really working that well, she's not the worst burst support you could use. Like, put on her a Noblesse Oblige 4 set, give her a Favonius bow if you want, or maybe something better if you want her to deal more damage, and she ends up as a decent unit, to be honest. Now, the next one I'm kind of disappointed with. Kujou Sara is basically my favorite character in the game. She has funny interactions with Raiden, she has great chemistry with Itto, and Hoyoverse just decided to handicap her. Well, at least until you unlock her second constellation. Like, I cannot even imagine using her without the second constellation, which lets her just use the skill and immediately boost the attack of somebody who stands in it, instead of using, you know, the charge shot, which, by the way, I have seen videos of people doing it successfully, but it just looks so painful to pull it off. But otherwise, I think she's a really good damage dealer. Obviously, I am kind of biased right now because I have her at C6, and it's kind of funny to see her dealing more damage than Keqing when using them together, but she does have a place in the meta for Hyper Electro teams like Hyper Raiden. And speaking of which, let's talk about the Electro Archon. Now, pretty much before her, Electro was considered to be one of the worst elements, which I'm not gonna get into it right now, but basically, I think Raiden just made us reevaluate the element. I know that there's also this big debate regarding C0 Raiden, and as somebody who has C3 Raiden and who has cleared all the content, including the Abyss with 9 stars, using C0 Raiden, the biggest difference is that she gains a massive damage boost. But the important utility she provides to teams by making sure to regain their energy still remains the same. And one of the few reasons why Raiden National works so well is that she helps so much with taking care of Xiangling's and Xingqiu's burst costs. Actually, she also helps with taking care of Yelan's costs as well if you use her instead of Xingqiu. But yeah, overall, I think she's one of the best designed damage dealers / supports in the entire game, and if you do decide to unlock her second constellation or get her signature weapon, it's also gonna be a massive boost to your account. But even without them, she still redefines a lot of teams. Now, moving over, I think that Kokomi was an important lesson for us content creators and community as a whole, because the first thing we judged about her was her healing and damage capabilities, which by the way didn't help a lot since at the time there was no clam set and there was a bit too much focus put on the fact that she doesn't deal critical damage. But this opinion was basically the first few initial weeks, maybe a couple of months, and then slowly we finally figured out that she's actually a really good hydro applicator, and she actually became one of the biggest reasons why I started to use Ayaka once again, because they work together just so well. And I also really like the fact that Kokomi is just so easy to build. You just slap on her Tenacity 4 set, give her Thrilling Tales, and don't even bother building ER on her, because all you need to do is just drop the jellyfish and you're good to go. Like, I'm actually surprised just how good she is for freeze teams. And what's even cooler is that you can also use her as, you know, a driver for taser comps. So overall, I think right now she's a really super solid character to use, and probably the only thing that remains true about her since the initial release is the extremely disappointing signature donut weapon she has. Just whatever you do, please don't wish on it. Now, the next one on the list is Thoma. I don't know what kind of a problem Hoyoverse has with Pyro Shield characters, but this is the second time they did us dirty. I mean, okay, sure, if we accept the fact that he's a horrible damage dealer and you cannot really use him as your main damage dealer, if you do solve his ER issues, give him a Favonius Lance, give him a Noblesse 4 set, maybe get him to C6 Constellation eventually, he still ends up in only few niche comps that you can use him. So like either Hutao or Yoimiya can probably utilize him, but besides it, I guess the only good thing about it is that you don't really have to put too many resources into him. And what's really kind of funny about this whole situation is that I actually use him in world exploration, because the enemies take more damage, and the shield is kind of fun to use. Although it's mostly just excuses, because I can really just resonate with Thoma's character and really like his personality, so I just bring him out often when I'm doing my dailies. Now, if we do talk about completely different personalities, then Itto, the one and only, he's really something else. I'm actually kind of amazed how Hoyoverse managed to make him so balanced. Like, he has good claymore options to choose from, there's a lot of different combos you can unleash, and of course, most importantly, he has the cutest companion, Ushi. Obviously, this isn't really a problem with Itto, but more with these elements. Since Geo doesn't really have any reactions, you're mostly locked to just one single comp, which is Mono Geo, and there's also the problem with some of the enemies you're going to be facing off in the Abyss. Like, it's not going to be easy to break their shields, but overall, I would still say he's a really good choice if you still don't have a C6 Noelle built, and if you actually want to enjoy a Claymore playstyle. Now, by talking about Itto, I also want to quickly mention Gorou. I think everyone knows by now that he's a really niche unit. He's basically made to work with either Itto or Noelle. It's really easy to build him because most of his bonuses are flat, it doesn't really depend on defense, although I do have him unlocked at full constellations as well, and at C4 he starts healing, which is actually pretty nice, and you can then start to invest into his defense because that's how the healing scales here. And at C6 he just gives more geo damage boost to everybody. Now, I know that the next few characters are not from Inazuma, but they are part of 2.0 update, so let's just talk about them. Now, Yunjin is pretty much similar to Gorou. I think she's a really interesting character because she boosts normal attacks only, and someone like Yoimiya can really enjoy it because the buff will follow you around, so unlike with Benny Boy, you don't have to stand inside the circle he leaves. You can also build some wacky combos with her like Cryo Zhongli, but overall, I think her biggest drawback as of now is that her own personal damage is not that great, and she doesn't really offer anything else besides damage boosting. But as long as we keep receiving new characters like Ayato, or basically anyone who deals normal attack damage in some kind of a way, I think she's gonna be in a pretty good spot in the future. Now, Shenhe is a really interesting choice. She's basically the first 5-star character that's really niche, but on the flip side, she does do her job pretty well, and she is one of the reasons why Mono Cryo became popular. I believe initially I thought her personal damage potential was kind of low, but now that the time has passed, I think she also deals kind of good damage as well. I especially like using her in Mono Cryo, because in my team there's Diona who's using Noblesse Oblige, which normally would be Shenhe's responsibility, but in this case she can use Blizzard Strayer, so building on her critical rate becomes really easy, and she becomes a really fun unit to use in Mono Cryo as well. But yeah, besides buffing the damage of Cryo and Anemo units, who by the way can also unload the Quill stacks, she's kind of a niche 5-star unit, but at the same time, she can also deliver very solid performance. Now, the next one is Yae Miko. I honestly don't have a strong opinion about her. Right now, she's C0 at my account, and I think after I was done with my review with her, I just stopped using her. Like, obviously she works pretty well in Taser and Mono Electro teams. I think she also works pretty well in Sunfire teams with Bennett and Jean. But right now, I'm just not sure what to think about her because Sumeru is coming pretty soon. So maybe the Dendro reactions will have a strong synergy with her totems. I'm just not sure yet, so I really don't want to give my own full opinion about her. And probably I'll just wait for the new Dendro characters to be released first, and then use them together with Yae Miko, see if that changes my opinion about her. Because right now, I think that maybe her potential is locked behind Dendro reactions. I'm just still not sure yet. Now, Ayato is probably one of my favorite characters in the whole update saga. I think the whole week I spent on the media server trying him out, I just saw so many different team comps, artifacts, and weapons you can use with him. He literally feels like a true Hydro character, where he can be used in like many different team comps and have many different outcomes at the same time. Like, my only problem with him is that his burst is expensive, and sometimes his burst gets placed awkwardly in some of the rotations, because, you know, you kind of need to be using his elemental skill constantly, so like you need to dedicate like 6 to 12 seconds of his time. But yeah, overall I think he's a super solid character, really good pick if you don't have any Hydro damage dealer already, and he has so many flexible builds you can use. Now, almost at the end of the update, Yelan came out, and boy oh boy did she have an impact on the meta. Most of us thought first to just compare her to Xingqiu, but in reality, why not use both? And right now, by using Yelan and Xingqiu together, there's already a couple of new team comps that are super fun to use and are really powerful. The most prominent one right now is Funerational, which I personally think is probably one of the strongest teams right now. And then you can use this whole double Hydro thing with Yoimiya, Diluc, or even Hu Tao again. So really, Yelan is just like Xingqiu. They even have almost the same haircut style, and while she doesn't offer something like small amounts of healing and damage resistance, she does have a passive effect that keeps increasing the active character's damage as long as her burst is active, and I've seen some really impressive damage per screenshots. But yeah, overall, Yelan is just a strong meta character, and not only can you use her in a lot of different teams, but there's also a couple of new team comps you can now build with her. And what a way to segue from Yelan to Kuki. Even though we finally got what we were asking for, which is an Electro healer, she just feels kind of underwhelming to use for the most part. Like, don't get me wrong, her healing is decent, you can give her a Tenacity and Favonius Sword and she performs a bit more than just healing, but overall her damage is just absolutely lackluster, the burst is a complete joke, and I would still hold off from completely evaluating her for now, because I do like how her elemental skill Electro application works, and I feel like she may be designed a bit too far into the future, which in this case, it's possible she's gonna be good for Dendro reactions. So yeah, right now she's kind of underwhelming, even though you can use her in a Taser comp with someone like Ayato, but let's just wait and see what happens with her with the Sumeru update. And finally, to finish off this list is Heizou. I mean, what a great way to just say goodbye to 2.0 update. The dude is a catalyst, but he uses his fists to fight, which already is an interesting playstyle, and I think a lot of people love it. He also deals pretty awesome damage with his skill, and I think at C0 he's a really capable unit, while getting more constellations will just make it a bit easier to play him, and of course boost his damage. But yeah, these are basically my thoughts about all the characters from version 2.0 onwards, including Kazuha as well. And because I am such a professional content creator, I definitely did not just spend a couple of minutes on the paint program organizing my thoughts about the characters. Like, looking at this picture, keep in mind this is not really a tier list, just my thoughts about what kind of an impact these characters had for the Genshin Impact meta, or just the overall character releases we've seen so far. Like, for example, characters at defining as I specified here would be Yelan bringing double Hydro to the meta, Raiden Shogun basically making National the Rational or Raiden National team popular, Kazuha adding basically everything you want in your team and also boosting elemental damage, and Ayaka, I'm still not sure if she's super solid or defining, but I feel like because it's so easy to build her and she has so much front-loaded damage, it really felt like she added a lot to 2.0 version. And then afterwards, everything else I talk about here is super solid characters I mentioned like Ayato, Heizou, niche characters as I mentioned, they're really good at what they do, but only at certain teams. And then of course, I kind of thought about these remaining three as too niche, even though as I said, Sayu for example is extremely good for world exploration. And then finally, because of the upcoming Dendro reactions, I still don't really have a strong opinion about Yae Miko or Kuki, and I think we just need to give it some time to see what will happen with them. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. This isn't really a serious video about me evaluating the character's power potential, because otherwise this would be like a 2-hour video of me just analyzing stuff, and it's more like just giving my overall feelings and some of the analytical thoughts I had about the characters as the game went on from 2.0 to 2.8 update. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this. I'd really appreciate if you could leave a like on the video, and if you haven't done already, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.